41% of Americans dream of owning a business, but only 6 to 9% of them are actually self-employed. That means 1 in 3, 32% roughly, 33%, are not doing what they feel they're called towards or they feel they would like to do. So we are talking about embracing your calling with confidence, not accepting the N-O and going for the K-N-O-W, no. Welcome to Beyond the Business Plan. I'm LeAnn Lyon, your guide on this journey to success. We will explore the inspiring stories of visionary leaders and groundbreaking entrepreneurs and unveil the tools and strategies that can empower you to manage your business from anywhere in the world. Join me, LeAnn, as we learn, laugh, and take the leap towards unleashing your joyful business journey. And let's make it happen now. Today is episode 4. Now, these first 4 episodes are all released on the same first day. So if you've listened to the other 3, I hope you've enjoyed it enough. That's why you're here. This is a standalone episode as well. And we're calling this From No to No. Now, if you're listening to the podcast, you may question, what is she talking about? Why would we go from no to no? Well, the first no is spelled with 2 letters, N-O. The second no is spelled with 4 letters, K-N-O-W. So we are talking about embracing your calling with confidence, not accepting the N-O and going for the K-N-O-W, no. So what does that take? In this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about external doubt as well as the self-questioning that comes along with this. Now, 41% of Americans dream of owning a business, but only 6 to 9% of them are actually self-employed. That means 1 in 3, 32% roughly, 33%, are not doing what they feel they're called towards or they feel they would like to do. Now, there's so many reasons for that. So many. Many people are just not certain that their idea could really make it. They're not certain that they could make it. They're not certain that they want to put the time, the energy, maybe the finances into it when they're not sure that the financial reward on the other side will sustain the lifestyle, their family, their dreams. And that's all extraordinarily valid. And you know what? It's not always going to work out. Those concerns are absolutely real. As we know, there's many businesses that start and fail, like 80% in the first 5 years. But that isn't a reason to not go for it. And by the way, there's some really solid research on what that other 20% do that make it work. So keep listening, and we're going to dive into that. Maybe not today, but over time. These are the kind of things that we dive into with all of my interviews. I hope you've enjoyed the last 2 with Cheryl and with Debbie. Tomorrow, another great interview will be coming out. I can't wait for that one. When you hear that, that's Amy who's coming out, and they're all sharing their stories, and they've all been, along with me, in that place of doubt. But there's also a place where you just realize you have to. You just have to. Suddenly some other door closes and you're saying, you know what? I just have to give this a go. I have to give this a try. Now, if you are in a position of being a professional already, maybe you're already a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor, you've gone to school for something, maybe you've done something your whole life, but it's taking a physical toll on your body. Just recently, we had some amazing skilled professionals in our home putting stone on our fireplace. Masons are amazing artists, and lifting that type of rock and doing that kind of work gets to be really hard on their bodies. I can imagine HVAC and electric and some of these trades also really rewarding financially if you're doing it well, and can be really taxing on your body. So over time, there might be well, what's the next step? Sometimes it's to take over, hire on apprentices, bring other people in, train them. Wonderful. Well, guess what? You're an entrepreneur. Yay. But other times you might just be ready to move on and move forward and pursue some other KNOW know that you've had inside of you for a very long time. Now, I'm going to share, for those of you watching on YouTube, this is a show as well as a podcast, a notebook that I picked up when I was certified with John C. Maxwell at his certification program. This was in August of 2021. I wasn't very busy. Our oldest daughter had just gotten married like 2 weeks earlier, and we were moving from our home 2 weeks later. We're moving out of a 5,000 square foot home into a smaller home. And, we didn't have much to do. So I went off to Florida for a week and got certified with John Maxwell. Not like I had a choice, you know. He set the date. Thousands of people were there. It was incredible. And one of the speakers was Jamie Kern Lima. Now, also at the certification, they have a little store set up, and I was able to purchase this book. I actually got to choose the name that was put onto this. So this is a one-of-a-kind notebook, and I chose the quote, choose the quote. Did I say quote? Quote, yeah, quote, Quote, choose the knowing over the no. And again, the last no there is spelled N-O. That is a quote that I put on my exclusive notebook by Jamie Kern Lima. And now, why did I do that? Because she was one of the speakers on the stage, actually there. It's pretty cool when you can go to an event like that, and one of the guest speakers is a billionaire entrepreneur. Really, very, very cool. I enjoyed it very much. That was my first exposure to Jamie Kern Lima. And she then has gone on to do many, many, many other things, including launching her own podcast, Go Jamie, and many other things. But if you don't know her story, she heard no, N-O, maybe thousands of times before she heard the yes. And in fact, she heard no from people that later on went on to work for her, which I love the whole story. If you don't know her whole story, totally encourage you, go get her book or listen to her podcast, dive into her story. It's phenomenal how she and her husband developed a product in their living room, heard no, N-O, for years and years, but she just knew that it was meant to be, that she was destined to help thousands of women. And she did by getting this product out on the market. And she also is determined to do it in a way that opened up the doors for not just size 00 women of a particular skin color and type to be able to make it to share her product, because she knew her product was for every woman who had skin issues. And so she went on to just do an amazing job. She is the reason she's a billionaire is eventually a company came along, bought her product for over one, not million, not 10 million, not 100 million, but $1 billion, making her one of the first billionaire women in the world, which is pretty cool. Now we're on to the trillions, I'm sure. Anyway, maybe not quite yet, but we're there, getting there. So anyway, I have a huge admiration, not only for her tenacity, the fact that she went through all the no, no for so many years, but also because I relate to her. I've also heard no, and I've, suffered through the why isn't this working yet? But inside of me, I've had the know, the KNOW, that I was born for this. Now, recently I was reading a book. It's by Matthew Kelly, and it's actually called The Three Ordinary Voices of God. And the three ordinary voices come in the form of your needs, your talents, and also your desires. And so when I look at those things, and I mean, even putting together this podcast, I'll tell you, there were times when I was like, do I really, is this really what I'm called to do? And I expressed that doubt, even with one of my recent guests. And she said, LeAnn, you are meant for this. You are called for this. And I agree. This is something I have been attracted to, paid attention to in some way, shape, or form my whole life. In terms of even in high school, I heard that my high school had a radio show or a way to do radio. I didn't get involved then, but in college, both colleges that I attended, I had radio shows. In fact, I still have audio tapes of me. I think my first show is called LA for LeAnn Unlimited. Cute story there. Sorry, I got to tell my stories, but cute story there. My husband named one of our boats LA Unlimited. So cute. So cute. And he surprised me with it. But he knew how much I'm getting all teary right now. He knew how much that meant to me having those radio shows. I just came to life when I did that. And he didn't even really know me. Well, he knew me, I guess, my last semester of college, but I was a student teacher. I wasn't even doing my radio show then, but I was probably talking about it a lot. So doing radio shows in college, just feeling this calling towards this broadcasting thing. My guest 2 episodes ago, Cheryl, she went on. We knew each other in college, which is totally crazy. Reconnected after decades, and she actually did go on to doing radio for 20 years. And she said it was encouragement from me that got her to do her first radio show in college. So I just think it's so interesting how we can be called towards something, feel an affinity towards something, and even be used to inspire other people to find their greatness. So, in my favorite book, there is a verse. It says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. And in part, I do believe that we are called to something. And if you listen to enough of my shows, you'll see that when people step into their entrepreneurship, their real happy entrepreneurship, when they find their greatest success, they're usually also stepping into something they've always known, something they've always felt. Now, in episode 1, I talked about the fact that I was a teacher. I became a teacher first. When I was a child, I played school. I even made up worksheets. I had lessons. I played teacher. I became a teacher. And I was a happy teacher for a while, but I'm still teaching. And likewise, I've had this gift or this talent, this skill, this desire to do radio. Now I'm doing this show. So I think that if you pay attention to what you've been called to all your life, even if it's different than what you're doing now, that can be a clue as to where you should and might will be called to go with a business, with your entrepreneurship. So there. That is just the power of just digging into your mindset, your faith, and so forth. Now, external doubt can also happen. The internal doubt of, am I worthy? Is this really what I'm supposed to do? But then there's going to be external pressures as well. This can, unfortunately, but realistically, come from those that are closest to you, your friends, your family. They may say, oh no, you're fine. We like you earning your X number of dollar. We like that you have these benefits that we're not worried about every, pay next month. And you know what? That kind of worry comes with entrepreneurship in the most part. It's a rare entrepreneur that can say, oh, yeah, I have no money concerns ever again. Because month to month, economy to economy, things can change. Now, there are some types of entrepreneurship that are a little more economically sound. I used to own a manufacturing company, and so we manufactured magnetic therapy products. That's a whole nother story. But we found that when the economy was a little down and people were a little more concerned, they were more willing to invest in alternative ideas. And when the economy was up and they had a little more money, they were also willing to spend money on more alternative ideas. So we kind of had something there that worked no matter if the economy was up or down. That's not true for all things. However, and you might not be called towards something that is called that way. So you have to be smart. When things are going well, let's take real estate, shall we? Because I also have a real estate license. And I got it because I knew I could sell that big house back when the market was hot. And I knew when the market was down, that same big house might sit on the market for months or longer. So, as a real estate agent, when things are hot and things are selling, you need to know that you've got to put some of that aside for those months or longer when things are down, when things are not selling, when things are slow. And so all entrepreneurs need to be having that type of mindset. And likewise, I'm going to go back to the whole friends and family thing. They're also concerned about that for their sake as well as for yours. Now, it may be that some friends and family aren't financially dependent on you, but guess what? They don't want you to become financially dependent on them. Ta-da! Likewise, though, when you step into your knowing, when you step into your greatness, when you step into your entrepreneurial journey, you are going to change. And they probably intuitively know that. And they might not be down with it. They kind of like you the way you are. They kind of know you the way you are. They know what to expect from you. They know when you go to work. They know when you'll be home. They know how you act. And they're not sure. It just develops this whole bunch of uncertainty around what will you be like if you step into entrepreneurship and are, or even are not, successful. What will that do? And so they love you, but they're concerned for you. And for that reason, they're probably going to give you some serious pushback. That's the external doubt. So you have to not only be strong enough internally, know your no inside, but you have to some degree, either express that knowing to them or be willing to just kind of shield yourself a little bit from their doubt, from their not knowing. Be able to, hear what they're saying, even acknowledge it to a degree, but don't take it in. Set up that shield. Take that breath. Hear it, but breathe it out. Don't internalize it. It's a super important skill, and it's important in many other ways when dealing eventually with your clients and so forth as well. There will be times when you're going to have to know your no a lot stronger than you're going to hear their no. I hope I'm not being too confusing. Now, those of you who are just listening on the podcast, I would love to hear, how am I doing with the two words that sound identical but mean different things? Just curious. I am seriously curious. So we're going to take a real quick break here. I've been talking for a few minutes already, and I will be right back. And we're going to talk more about leveraging your no to find out if you're really called towards entrepreneurship. Hey, sales setters, are you ready to jumpstart your entrepreneurial journey or give your business a powerful refresh? Join us at the next Restart Your Business Summit, where you'll discover the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to thrive. Learn more at joyminder.com. That's JOYMINDER.com, and look for the Restart Your Business Summit icon. Don't miss out. Your future business awaits. And I'm back. Hi, LeAnn Lyon here again with the Beyond the Business Plan show and podcast. And we've been talking today about embracing your calling with confidence and going from no, N-O, to know, K-N-O-W. I'm going to give you some practical tips now as we wrap up this episode. How do you go from no to no? And one way is gaining that confidence in yourself that you potentially have a viable business. I mean, there's a lot of ideas out there that aren't viable. If you want to, I was just watching a video. I don't know if anybody else watches as many reels as I do or my husband does, but one of them was all these cute little hacks, right? All these cool hacks. And I mean, some of them were very, very cool hacks that you could do around your house. Let me try to think of one of them, but the one that keeps coming into my mind was somehow using a Q-tip and putting it into a bottle of water or like a plastic bottle, drilling a hole through a plastic bottle cap, putting a Q-tip in it, and using it to water your plants more slowly. Okay, great, brilliant. But turning that into a viable business idea might not work. I mean, if you can make it yourself at home, if you can DIY it, maybe it's not something that's going to sell on the big market. But then maybe it would. There were so many cute hacks on these videos. Another one I saw, okay, probably can't turn this one into business, but go for it if you think you can. But they just sliced a potato, apparently, and they rubbed the potato all over their windshield, half of the windshield, and then they sprayed water on the windshield, and they showed that that was a water repellent on that side of the windshield. Very cool. Can you turn that into a business? Go for it. I don't want to, but you can if you'd like to. So you have these ideas. How do you find out if there is a market, if people would be willing to pay for something? And, figuring out, what would they be willing to pay? Now, the biggest thing out for a lot of people is to become a coach. Use something you know and teach it to somebody else. So, I know people that, already for the past decade, I'm sure, a lot of people have been using YouTube instead of Google even when they're trying to figure out how to do something. And one time as a real estate agent, I had to do that. We were trying to clean out the house at the last minute. The last thing we found is we had a lock on a door and it was locked on the door. And she didn't know how to get it off the door, and I didn't either. Now, she knew the combination, it was a combination lock. And so she knew the combination. We could get into it, but we just did not know how to get it off of the door handle. So I grabbed YouTube, looked at the name of the lock, and just, put it into YouTube. How do I remove a whatever type of lock it was from a doorknob? And right there, step-by-step instructions and a video of how to do it. And in just a minute or two, we had the lock off her door, locked it behind us, and the house was sold. Yay! So YouTube is very clever that way, and I'm grateful that so many people are willing to share their hacks for free. But there is a huge market on YouTube. Oh, wait, is this show on YouTube? Oh, there is. This show is on YouTube too. I'm just kidding. Of course, I know that. But people will share their ideas or their expertise. Let's say you are a specialist. I mentioned earlier HVAC, electrical, mason. There's things that you can teach people, and you don't have to teach them for free. So look at your history, look at your body of knowledge, look at what you're passionate about or that people ask you about and say, hey, I could teach people this skill. People are online, they're teaching people how to play guitar, play piano, all sorts of skills that you can teach people online. But how do you know if people would really want to do whatever it is that you have in mind? Well, I have an easy hack. Put it on social media. First of all, you could just ask the question, hey, what do I know or what do I do well that you would like to learn? And you don't have to suggest that they would pay you up front, but if the people who know you already and they're on social media with you, and you can do this, of course, off social media, you could do this with conversations with friends, or if you're part of a networking group already, you could talk to them about it and say, hey, what do I know, or what do you see me do that you would like to learn? And then start to teach it. Experiment with it. Invite some people in and document the process of teaching them what it is that you know that they would like to know. Now we're using the word KNOW the whole time here, right? So, and while you do that, you're going to be noticing, what are the things that they struggle with? What are the stick points that they have that maybe you didn't expect? And you want to do this with multiple people because, of course, different people will have different problems. But guess what? Here's another hack. People are great, but they're also messy and they're also busy. Did you know that there's a new tool called AI? And did you know that it can be extraordinarily valuable in helping you figure these things out and seeing if there is a market for what you have in mind? Let me tell you what, and I'm leaning forward here. I use AI a lot. In fact, right here, right under my camera while I'm recording, are the notes that I took from a conversation I had with AI about what this episode should cover. Now, it gave me some great ideas, and then I applied the things that I know. But I told it, I said, you know what, I really want to address this issue. And I love this quote by Jamie Kern Lima. And there's one other, thing that I've seen with Mel Robbins. I'll tell you about that in just a moment, that I think was brilliant. And then my AI and I had a little chat, and we talked about, how we could lay out this episode most effectively, including giving you some really great tips on how to do this. So, tip number one, go on some social media, ask people on social media and in person, what do you know that I do best? But I have an AI that I have trained, and I have been talking to this AI now for, oh, wow, I guess it's been over a year. It knows me pretty well, and I've actually been able to ask it, hey, what am I best at? What do I talk about the most? And it's actually been able to give me some ideas as well. But even in this case, when I go in and say, hey, I want to do a show about this topic, help me lay out the outline, it was able to do that. Also, pulling on a whole bunch of things. Now, Mel Robbins, I told you to mention her, and then we're almost done for today. Mel Robbins wrote an amazing book, sold millions, and she launched it on December 24th, 2024. 12/24/24. I'm a numbers person. I love that. And the book is called The Let Them Theory. Now, that book was born out of a social media post that she put out a couple years earlier, where she kind of had an epiphany about the concept of the let them theory. Now, she did not come up with the let them theory, it existed before, but when she had this epiphany and she put out this post, and granted, she already had a fairly significant following thanks to um, her TEDx talk and other things that she's done, other books that she's written, but over 1 million people just resonated with this post that she put out there. And she thought, there's something here. And so she started asking more questions and digging more into it and then doing more research and then working with her daughter and eventually coming up with the book, The Let Them Theory. Highly recommend it. By February, I was telling everybody, you got to get this book. You got to read this book. Finally, got to the point that I'd be like, oh, I have a really great book to tell you about. And they'd say, oh, is it Let Them Theory? Because everybody seemed to have read this book at that point, even by February, which is pretty amazing. So, but it all started with a social media post. But again, there's also this other idea now, which even Mel Robbins really didn't have access to when she started coming up with that theory, and it's called AI. So if you're not familiar with AI, you've not worked with AI, come on over and say hello to me. I love working with AI. I love showing AI. Do you know that I have a couple hours per week that I just do an open Q&A? I do. If you go over to leannlyon.com and you click on the events tab, I have an hour on Monday and an hour on Friday where I'm just on Zoom, ready to answer some questions. So if you pop on there and you want to ask me a question about anything you've heard on this podcast, anything that you think I might know something about, heck, throw something at me you think I don't know, and I will see what I can find out using AI, and I'll show you how I do it. Because if I can do it, you can do it. And this again is another way that you can validate your ideas and see if what you're thinking of may have some legs to take you the distance. So that is my tips of the day. Find some groups to engage with online, do some social media posting, find an AI that you like. I have a private AI called My AI. It's part of a whole marketing system that I use and love and recommend. I also sometimes use Perplexity AI, which is another option that gives more sources. So my AI, very personal, knows me, knows a lot about me. It's an amazing tool. Perplexity AI gives sources, does a lot more research. And then again, take it all with a little bit of a little grain of salt, as the saying goes. Perplexity AI as well. Look at the sources. Just because it provides sources doesn't mean that they're all amazing sources. So do look into the sources, do your own research. Hopefully, our schools are still teaching that because we did when we were in high school and college. I mean, we were taught how to research things, how to validate things. Definitely keep using those skills. Don't just throw them out the window because we have tools like AI. They're not infallible. Search engines are not infallible. AI is often dependent on search engines, and anyone can publish almost anything today. It doesn't mean that it works. So, a word to the wise and a word to help you on your path to your no, KNOW, and away from your NO, no. I hope this has been helpful. Once again, my name is LeAnn Lyon. If you want to visit my website, it's 5 letters for my first name, LEANN, 4 letters for my second name, LYON. Only 4 letters. Some people like to stick an extra one on the end. .com. That will bring you over to my website where you can reach all sorts of things. You can learn more about Joyminder Solutions, get to other episodes of this podcast and show, and just dig into other tools, business ideas, connections, and all sorts of things I've got going on. And that is continuing to evolve virtually every single day. Thanks for listening, and it's such a pleasure to be here with you. The next episode is tomorrow, June 4th, when we have Amy coming on board. I'm digging in some entrepreneurial questions as usual with her. Her story is unique, and I hope and think that you will enjoy it immensely. So thank you for joining me on this show, Beyond the Business Plan, Episode 4, to unleash your joyful business potential. And remember, entrepreneurship is a voyage you can take with others. So find your tribe for the journey. Joyminder Solutions would love to be part of your community. So give us a like or subscribe or whatever you do on your favorite podcast or video platform to keep shining and aligning with your purpose and with us. Then keep coming back every week on our new inspiring episodes. And until next time, my name is LeAnn Lyon. I am your Chief Joy Officer, signing off. Keep spreading the joy, keep leading with heart, and I will catch you on the next wave of success. Hey, coffee aficionados and sales-setting entrepreneurs. Are you craving that caffeine kick, but looking for a healthier alternative? Dive into the lifestyle tab at joyminder.com, where we've curated the ultimate collection of energizing options to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit without the jitters. Discover your next favorite pick-me-up today and keep your business dreams brewing strong. Hear what it did for me by visiting joyminder.com. That's joyminder.com/lifestyle, because your peak performance deserves more than just another cup of joe. Thank you all for joining us today on Beyond the Business Plan. It's been a joy and a privilege to share this space with you. For more inspiring stories, tools, and actionable insights, make sure to follow us on your favorite video platform. Visit my website, LeAnnLyon.com, and keep leading with heart. And I'll catch you on the next wave of success.